Hey kids, do you like wrestling? Well, we like wrestling too. We are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Myself and Chris Novembrino kind of doing a lazy river of wrestling criticism, going through the news and whatever happened in stateside television wrestling. And also, you know what? Sometimes we just like to watch old stuff and talk about that too. Love for you to give us a listen. If you haven't already, we are Shake Them Ropes here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Hungee here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. I am your host, Tyler Fornes, and with me as always is Fred. Woo Moreland. How are you?
Those are woes, sir. I was trying to get you to do Julia Hart's theme song very poorly.
You failed.
I did. I'm doing well. I've managed to shake off my cold, and for the most part, I still got the husky voice, to match my husky fat. Other than that, though, things are going all right. We got ourselves a hell of a windstorm going on outside, so fingers crossed that doesn't affect anything on our end. But we'll see. Tyler, what did you do this week? Because it was so quiet on the football front that I can't imagine. Like, you got to make up some bullshit stories this week, buddy, to get your word count in.
You'd be amazed how much I can actually get done when there's not actually a football game about to go on for the Vikings. Last January, I think we wrote 310 stories in the month of January.
Jeez. This
year, probably on track to do about the same. There's stuff to do, man. There's plenty of stuff to do. I highly recommend, if you have not yet, go listen to the first hour of the flagship and hear Joe Lanza and Rich Craich absolutely bury aggregation, which they are 100% right. I have to do aggregation to a point for my job, but everything I do with aggregation is I still give my own spin and opinion on things.
Yeah.
Where it's not just like news. You're gaining a little bit of something from me sharing what somebody else did. And usually it's like, oh, this person was named to the Pro Football Focus All-Pro team, or this person believes that the Vikings will take this person in the NFL draft. Like, it's that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's stuff that's relevant for my readership, and I don't really like doing it, but it's also kind of necessary for how the business is set up, which I don't like, but I love my job, and I get paid to write about the Minnesota Vikings. I will never complain about that.
Yeah. I just now saw that to change subjects somewhat. Casey Thompson is going to be playing football for his 7th season this year with Oklahoma as his 4th school.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Because he got a medical hardship waiver because he tore his ACL last year at FAU.
He's not going to be the starter. He's just going to be a backup, but
it
gives him an opportunity to get another master's degree, I think. Look, these guys are playing it smart. They are taking advantage of free college.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't blame them. And it's just very funny that Oklahoma is going to have a 26-year-old on their roster next season. Like, that is objectively pretty funny. Oh, and Cadillac Williams resigned from Auburn. I just saw that too.
I'm a little surprised it didn't happen before last season.
I think he was asked to stick around to help Freeze out, I guess, but they should have hired him instead of gross Hugh Freeze.
Hiring Hugh Freeze is just it's bad. It's very, very bad.
Oh no, he's a gross bastard. But let's talk about it, because I'll segue here because he was supposed to be the Saban killer because he beat him once back when Alabama was completely.
He's one of 2 head coaches ever to beat him in back-to-back games.
Right, exactly, and that's the whole reason Auburn hired him, because they're a very normal program. And now Saban's gone, so You know, that this guy who had multiple bad games last year is now your head coach and doesn't even have the gimmick that, is why you brought him in. But I mean, Saban retiring is massive. I mean, that's an understatement for sure. But Nicole and I were out at dinner, and that popped up on one of the TVs in the restaurant. And man, that was just one of those things that, like, you knew it was going to happen eventually, but it's just wild to think it happened because he's been there so long and so successful, and arguably like defined this past 15 years of college football.
Can you imagine what the football world would look like right now if Nick Saban had been allowed to take Drew Brees in Miami?
Legitimately, no, I can't. That's like the ultimate butterfly effect, at least for recent college football.
It changes everything.
Oh yeah, I mean, Alabama has always been like a big on college football school, obviously, but like without Saban there, there's no way they would have built that dynasty. I don't think. Would they have won titles at some point? Sure, I think it's very possible, but Saban was obviously an extremely talented guy who hit the right place at the right time, which is always, like, that's what makes like the top echelon coaches, the top echelon guys, is in no small part being at the right spot, like built with Bill Belichick, who also retired this week. I mean, and Pete Carroll.
Fact that I don't know if you know about, Nick Saban was Bill Belichick's defensive coordinator for the 95 Browns.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw that photo of them on the sideline together earlier today. When
they did a football life on the 95 Browns because that was the year halfway through that it was announced that the team was moving to Baltimore.
Yeah.
High recommended. It's on YouTube. I'll find it.
Check that out.
It's very, very, very good.
Yeah. And, on top of all this, Pete Carroll retired too. And, I mean, another guy.
He did not retire.
As coach, right?
No.
Did he get fired? Is that what happened? He got like politely fired?
He essentially got pushed out of the spot.
Oh, that's a shame. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I thought he was doing like okay-ish with Seattle. I mean, Geno Smith's their quarterback, and I'm happy that he's successful enough to be a starting QB, but like, it's Geno Smith.
I think they just decided as an organization they were just ready to move on.
Okay. Well,
not necessarily that he was doing bad. They just said it's time.
Yeah.
He's 72.
That's fair. That's very fair. Did you read the Athletics piece on the Belichick move and how they buried him gently, brother?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised at some of the things that were probably in there. Like, look, it was just time.
Yeah.
Eventually, voices grow old and stale, and it's like a pro wrestling booker. It doesn't matter how good they are. Sometimes it's just time to move on. And it's not necessarily an insult. It's just a fact of life.
Yeah. What I'm hearing is Mac Jones is David Finley.
Is what?
David Finley.
Oh, my gosh. Mac Jones sucks. He's awful. People were talking about him going third overall to the Niners that year.
Yeah.
And then people around here were talking about, the Vikings should try and trade for him as like a bridge guy, or maybe he could be something. Like, and beat writers like, yeah, that's a really good idea. And I'm like, do you guys watch football? No, it's a terrible idea. Mac Jones stinks. And yeah, it's people need to watch ball. And if you think Mac Jones is good, I really question your ball knowledge, because he's not.
Well, let's talk about some real ball knowledge, because we didn't get to talk about it last week because I was sick and just not, was addled, basically.
No, just a minute, Fred. You are a coward.
Yeah, I'm a coward. What we really need to talk about in the world of football is the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Oh,
what a perfect gimmick. What a perfect gimmick.
Did you see that they announced that they're doing the Pop-Tart Bowl again next year? And
yeah, I did. I watched the announced video, and it was perfect too. I mean, it's like they took the Duke's Mayo Bowl and turned it up to 100. I mean, Duke's Mayo, carved themselves out a nice little spot with their, the dump the mayo on the coach gimmick and all that, which is disgusting, but it's a good bit. And then the Pop-Tart Bowl is like, oh, okay, we could do this too. And it just got super weird with it, and it's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so beautiful. College football is perfectly absurd and ridiculous, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. College football
it's
is
great.
Beautifully absurd.
But the more like college football, the more college football is like minor league baseball in terms of a little wackiness. That's
Great
part of it.
comparison.
Yeah, is perfect. It's what they need to do. But yeah, it's a fantastic gimmick, the whole Pop-Tart thing, and great stuff.
My in-laws were in town, and we went to dinner, and they had the Pop-Tart bowl on, and I was getting really excited towards the end of the game. They're like, Tyler, why are you getting excited? I'm like, oh, they're going to eat the mascot. I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, the mascot is edible. They're like, hold on. What? Yeah, the suit the mascot's wearing is an actual Pop-Tart, and it can be eaten. And they're like, what? I'm like, look, college football is incredibly stupid, and I mean that in the most endearing way possible. College football is dumb, and this is peak college football. Now, what they need to do is they need to make the Pop-Tart Bowl and Duke's Mayo Bowl. They need to make them playoff games, and not only that, but the winners have to play each other. And yet, if the winner of the Pop-Tart Bowl,
the Will Levis Bowl,
if the winner of the Pop-Tart Bowl beats the winner of the Duke's Mayo Bowl, they have to eat Pop-Tarts dipped in mayo.
That's just disgusting.
Of course it's disgusting, but that's what makes college football beautiful.
Now, I think that I'm afraid that the Avocados from Mexico Bowl.
No, you have to say avocados from Mexico.
I'm worried that he might get some ideas from all this. I feel bad for anyone that has to walk around in an edible avocado suit. That's a bad time.
Hey, you know what? Just give everybody a bag of chips and just let them scoop the avocado off like it's guac. Like, if you think all of this is stupid and absurd, you're correct, and it's what makes college football the best sport in the world.
Did you? I'm segueing here because it was talked about on this week's Shutdown Fullcast for 45 minutes, and as the top story over the national championship game, and frankly, as it should have been. Did you see the guy get stuck in the urn?
Yes. God, it's
perfect.
I love this. It's just so great. And from all accounts, the guy is okay.
Oh yeah, he's okay. They got him loose. And he's fine. But if you haven't seen it, this guy at a party in Alabama, who's from Mississippi and has like the Mississippi accent, the one that actors often try to do and fail miserably at when they're trying to do a Southern character. This guy is stuck up to his chest in like a giant urn that he has squeezed himself into. And I mean, the first video showing him stuck in it features him uttering the perfect it's art, the greatest line that will ever be said by humanity. I took my belt off and it didn't do shit. 100% just search Connor Earn and look at that stuff. There's two videos, one of them stuck in it and one of them eventually being freed, and it's art. It really is.
God, I absolutely love college football so much. Perfect is the exact right way to talk about college football. But I could talk about college football all day. But we really should get to this professional wrestling business, Fred.
Yeah, let me tell you, podcast about it, I guess. So,
oh, that's what this show's about.
I guess. I mean, look, I'd happily change this into a Connor stuck in an urn podcast. That would 100% be my bullshit. But yeah.
Listen, I'm in.
We'll find out how long it takes for Joe and Rich to actually listen to one of our episodes if we did that.
Are you kidding? Okay, hold on. Let's dive into this. You think Joe and Rich would be upset about us talking about college football Pop-Tart mascots when they
exclusively
spend 45 minutes talking about some bullshit AA minor leaguer for 10 minutes of a pro wrestling show? Come on.
No, I'm 100% suggesting that we just give up on wrestling. It just
okay. Now,
I think that would bother them at some point. They'd be like, okay, listen, can you do a little bit? Like, even by our standards.
Look, AEW is back, baby.
It is. This isn't the most back week, but it was a pretty back week. It was good. The vibes were there. I can't say that these were like all-time shows or anything, but I'm not going to complain about them.
It's good wrestling, matches that mean something. And you know what? They're talking about records being meaningful again. Hook is challenging for the world title. Hook is 45-3, 28-1 singles.
Yeah.
I mean, of course he should be challenging for the world title.
But is he as deserving as Jinder Mahal?
Oh, God damn it. No, he's more deserving than Jinder Mahal. I love it. Oh, Jinder Mahal walks back in. He hasn't won a match in 14 months? He walks back into the company like, I want a title shot. Why? It's not like you were John Cena and you had to drop the title because you tore your pec. Like, no, you don't get a title shot. You don't deserve a title shot. People talked about AEW being this company where people just walk out and make challenges. Same with New Japan. But there's logic behind these guys making challenges. Like Kenny Omega lost the junior title, turned and became the leader of Bullet Club and challenged for the Intercontinental title. That makes sense. He maybe have won before, but he's going up to heavyweight. And now he's the leader of the most popular faction in the company. Okay. AEW, Swerve comes out and says, I want that title from Samoa Joe. Makes sense. Like, Jinder Mahal? Shut up.
It's just funny how much some people feel like they have to double down on the whole, I'm pro WWE and anti AEW and vice versa, because they have to they've worked themselves into a shoot to the point of Jinder Mahal is good and Lexus King is good. AEW didn't know how to use Brian Pillman Jr. Oh, buddy. Footnote on Jinder Mahal. We all know that Bray Wyatt's last in-ring feud was with LA Knight, but before that, he worked a loop of 4 house shows against Jinder Mahal in late December 2022, which is mildly interesting. Would you like to guess who Jinder Mahal defeated in his last singles victory at all on WWE TV? And and on top of that, I'd also like you to guess the who he faced and defeated in his last main roster victory.
What day was his last victory?
His last victory period on TV, not including house shows, was on January 10th, 2023. And it was on NXT, as I kind of alluded to. And that was against...
Hold on, let me guess.
All right, okay, all right. Okay.
Jinder Mahal, NXT.
It set up a loss later to Braun Breaker, I will tell you that much.
Is it Carmelo Hayes?
No, it was not. Carmelo was pushed too much at that point. I think, although sometimes it's hard to tell. I mean, look at Baron Corbin this year, or past year. No, it was Julius Creed in a singles match.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and then his last televised SmackDown victory, and I'm folding in the rest of the main roster with it, was in June 2022 against Humberto in a 3-minute 30 squash.
That sounds like a world title challenger to me.
Yeah,
I don't know about you.
To get to his win prior to all that on TV, you have to go all the way back to October 2021 when he beat Kofi Kingston in the King of the Ring first round. Goodness gracious.
Fred, what the fuck, man?
I mean, look, I don't have nothing against Jinder Mahal personally or anything. He actually seems kind of like a cool dude, I guess. But within the realm. But
that dude is apparently vegan, and look at him.
He's jacked as hell. Maybe he can. I just hope he stops getting injured. It's never good when anyone keeps getting injured. But
I just wonder if he has like an IV of soy protein going directly into his bloodstream at all times, just to get enough protein to get that jacked.
Buddy, he is a large gentleman. He has been tanning.
Like, it's hard enough for vegetarians to get enough protein to become that kind of athletic.
Yeah, it's hard.
But
Brian
vegan?
Danielson's talked about this.
But vegan, just imagine how much harder that is.
Yeah.
All right, we should move on because Jinder Mahal sucks, and we have a lot of actual good things to talk about. But I don't think this will be one of them.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of in a waiting pattern. It's been a light news week for AEW, thank God, outside of the stupid social media drama surrounding Tony Khan and Jinder Mahal and Hook. But I think the biggest news right now is we're really in a holding pattern, I think, essentially, per reports, that Mercedes Moné is coming into AEW, which I think would be a massive get for the company. And, once that happens, I'm mildly surprised it didn't happen in Jacksonville because, it's Jacksonville, it's Daly's place. You think that would be prime if you got the deal together to debut her there, but maybe they're holding off for a little bit. Yeah, she's apparently the talk is that she's very likely to sign with AEW. Nothing's final until it's put on paper, obviously, but it seems like she's coming in, and good for. That's a great move for AEW and a great move for a women's division that really suffered in 2023.
Man, I worry about Mercedes having a mic in her hand, but in ring, hell yeah. You know what they should do with Mercedes? Pair her with Stokely Hathaway. Just have Stokely be the mouthpiece and let Mercedes just do what she does in the ring and never talk.
Who could?
I don't mean that as an insult, but when you have Stokely Hathaway, all you have to do is grab the mic and be like, money, and just be cool as fuck.
This brings me to my general point that I think Stokely's been underwhelming in AEW just because he really hasn't been given a direction and a chance to do anything like in a straight line. He keeps having his role changed, and that's not a knock on him as a performer. It's just kind of frustrating because I never really saw much of his stuff on the indies, but he's obviously got that reputation, and I mean, in AEW he's been the Firm's guy. He was briefly Jade's guy, and then he wasn't. He was shuffled off to Ring of Honor to be their authority figure, and now he's in this weird spot with Willow and Statlander. And I don't know, man. I just wish that, we got full-blown Stokely doing stuff. But I do think Stokely would probably be great with Mercedes. That probably, I think Mercedes, I'm probably a little higher on Mercedes as a promo than you. I think she can do decent promos. It's actually rather analogous to Jade Cargill. I think
taped promos, yes. Live mic promos, that's my worry.
A lot of presence that helps carry those segments, I think. But that brings me to my point. Who could probably do well with her is Mark Sterling, because I think Sterling was an underrated part of helping Cargill get over. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's Bobby Heenan or anything, but I do think he's an underrated manager.
Let's talk about this because while I agree with you, I also think you're wrong. I think Smart Mark Sterling is really good. My brain just associates him with undercard acts because right now he's with Tony Nese and he's been with a lot of undercard people too. I don't know. I feel like she's too big. Mercedes would be too big for Smart Mark Sterling. And maybe that's just a barrier that I can't get over and I'm just wrong. But that's just kind of the vibes that I have with him.
I can't terribly disagree, to be honest, but I do think that he showed that he could be higher up the card with Jade, who was, not quite a main eventer, but a definite star act at points in AEW. So, that's just my opinion. Brief note here. I got to double check this actually. So I'm going to buy time, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see where Mercedes slots in. Yeah. Okay, here. I just saw this story. In the Observer this week, Meltzer said that Tony Khan pretty much let Sting pick who he wanted to have as his final opponents in this upcoming match. And I think we should talk about this. I think separate from just the show review, because I think it's very interesting. Because I the presumption seemed to be that it was going to be a solo match against Darby Allin, and you put Darby over, and that would be the way to go out, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's very interesting that instead they're doing a tag match against the Young Bucks. And Meltzer Meltzer is reporting that Tony Khan basically let Sting pick whoever he wanted to face, and that would be essentially anyone outside of WWE, because he would have done whatever he could to bring in anyone. And Sting picked the Young Bucks because he loved the Forbidden Door 2022 match. That was Sting and Darby and Shingo against the Bucks and El Phantasmo. And the Bucks actually were not planned to come in for a while. They were going to take some more time off, but basically they were told, hey, Sting wants to work his retirement match with you. And they were like, well, yeah, of course. So I think that's a cool story. Kind of undercuts the whole the Young Bucks don't know how to work if Sting's choosing you as his retirement match, but
those people were always dumb anyways.
Oh yeah. It's just more of the culture war nonsense in wrestling. But yeah,
so let's talk about the match itself.
Yeah, are you excited for that?
Yes, I think this will be a lot of fun. I think the Bucks are going to work their absolute asses off to make this great. I think it's
the
cool.
bumping.
I think it's cool as hell that Sting is going to work his final match at the Greensboro Coliseum. Look, it would have been cooler to do the Georgia Dome, but the Georgia Dome no longer exists, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium it's not the same. My question for you is this, because I struggle with the fact that they're really not he's not putting anybody over, but I also don't think he has to. My theory is this: he's not doing a singles match because he can't. And the reason why he's been in all these tag matches is because you can hide his deficiencies really well when you have Darby Allin acting like a psychopath from Jackass circa 1999. And
those bumps, man.
Dude, that bump he took from Takeshita and Hobbs.
Yes.
They did the pendulum and threw him across the ring, and he did like
almighty.
a 720 barrel roll. Oh, God.
Did a Vikingo-style flip, basically.
Oh. But I do think it kind of stinks he's not putting anybody over, per se.
Yeah.
But his entire run put Darby Allin over. So can you really be mad? No. But I think they could have done it better, if that makes sense.
Honestly, I don't know, man. I think that he fits in just fine the way he is, and that he's done enough. I think this will do just as much to get Darby over as him doing a one-on-one that he jobs in. And frankly, I do think the past year Sting has started to show his age far more and more. He's just it's rough, man. It's really rough at some points. Like, it's not like he's a bad worker or anything, but like, he's showing his age, and that was far less of a thing early on, I do believe, in his run. It's a shame, but I think that he's done about as well as he can. I mean, I can't really knock anything he's done. I thought he was all right in the JD Drake Workhorseman match. And I thought that this past week he was mostly okay. Maybe we need to have this Drake run out of time, but maybe we should have a come to Jesus moment when it comes to some of these bumps and how they're planned out, because that Scorpion Death drop off of the stand just about went real bad.
Here's my take on this, Fred. If he wants to do it, I don't care. The man is 64 years old. He knows what he should and shouldn't be doing. If he feels like he can do it, let him. That's my thing. And this is one of those safety police kind of discussions. We've had these before. If the wrestler who knows what the risks are decide that they want to do it, and it's not absolutely egregious. Like if he wanted to take a scorpion death drop off like the like from 15 feet high onto the concrete, okay, tell him no. But through 2 tables, he knows what he's doing. He's a professional. If he wants to do it, let him do it. Like, that's fine. If he gets hurt, he knows the risks. He's been doing this for over 40 years. I'm not going to really lament a guy for wanting to just put on great matches on his way out. Like, let him.
See, I disagree slightly. I am also not like a huge safety police guy, but you do have to make sure your performers aren't like going to kill themselves on live TV. And I mean, Sting is up there in age, and probably could have made that slightly safer. But yeah.
Yeah, if he wants to do it, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
cool.
That's fair. That was a wild spot though, and cool as hell. And I'm glad
nothing will top Darby being thrown in that 720 barrel roll. That's one of the coolest spots I've ever seen.
Darby keeps finding ways to bump like a maniac, and God bless him.
How old is Darby?
He's just on the just crossed 30 a year or two ago, I think. I think he's 31.
Listen, I don't mean this as insulting, but
yeah, 31.
Are you surprised Darby's alive?
God. Am I Dave Scherer now?
No. The dude just keeps doing things that look like he's going to die, and he just continues to do it. That bump against Takeshita in the singles match where he does the tope, but when Darby does it, he goes through the bottom and middle rope and he like turns his back and like thrusts himself through the ropes like a cannonball, and Takeshita just knees him right between the shoulder blades.
Yes.
Oh,
remember the Samoa Joe match? I was thinking about
which one? They're so good.
Any of them, really. But I was thinking about those earlier this week, and man, Darby is quite possibly the best bump taker in wrestling history, unless you consider like
Mikey Whipwreck.
I mean, he's basically Mikey Whipwreck, but a better in-ring guy. So, yeah, I mean, it's Darby rules. We got other news to talk about. We're 30 minutes in. Damn. Time flies.
Listen, Pop-Tarts are important.
They are important. CJ Perry is going to have surgery again on her finger. She posted more pictures of it. Hopefully we don't get video of her throwing up. She from her Instagram post, I should say, she made it sound like she has MRSA, which one isn't a surprise, and two is not great. Between your choices, I would choose not MRSA, unless you're choosing like VRE or something that is even worse. But MRSA is some serious shit, and hopefully they're able to get her fully healed. And I think in a day or two, you may see some more gross pictures on Instagram if you're into that.
All the best to her. Infections are gnarly. I was almost septic, and I wasn't, which is cool. But they're just gnarly, and they can come out of nowhere. So all the best to her, and hopefully she keeps her finger.
Yeah, I mean that's a genuine concern. Unfortunately, you're not just saying that lightly. You got to hope that they're able to clear that infection. Her finger, a recent picture showed it like very swollen and quite red. Typically a color you do not want your finger to be. So, yeah, best of luck to her, and I hope that it continues to improve. A couple other health notes. Brian Cage is working through a torn lat that he suffered in the 4-way match to determine Kingston's first challenger. I think it was when Trent German suplexed him at some point in the match. And Roosh tore his hamstring in the C2. So,
we talked about that one last week.
I think we did, yeah. I say it out loud and it reminds me, but hey. Next up on my news list is DJ Woo Kid, who was on a podcast this week. I forgot to make note of who it was. It was someone
Joe and Sam, the Sam Roberts podcast.
Yeah. Where he talked about witnessing Brawl Out, and for all the tweets at Chris Jericho about NDAs, apparently DJ Woo Kid did not get an NDA to sign. I have a request for our episode subtitle this week, Tyler, and it's that it be this quote from DJ Woo Kid, who said, quote, "It was blood and killing and death."
God, I love this sport.
Oh boy. And he also referred to a Hawaiian looking big guy in the following quote, who, has to be Samoa Joe. It wasn't confirmed, obviously, but it's gotta be. He said, "The shit that's crazy is there was a yelling moment where he was like, yo, fuck this shit. This is our moment. Everyone get the fuck out of here and do your shit." And I was like, I don't even know how to wrestle, but I was about to go out there. It was very intense, man. I will always respect wrestling after I saw that. Get DJ Woo Kid on Dynamite more often, on AEW more often. But that got popped me pretty good. And then just a couple other things. Pac is expected to return soon, which good, he rules. And then finally, Bryan Danielson will be facing Zack Sabre Jr. on February 11th at New Japan's The New Beginning in Osaka, which should rule. So excited for that.
God, how cool is that he's going to go wrestle in Osaka?
I know,
he's
right?
like, yeah, this is my last full year of wrestling. And then he just like, let's go wrestle in Osaka. Like, this guy is just a fucking nerd. And I love it. Like, I'm waiting for the time where he just appears in CMLL and attacks Blue Panther.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. I still hope we get one day Bryan Danielson versus Virus. That would be the perfect CMLL match.
No, the perfect CMLL match would be Bryan Danielson versus Mystico.
Oh, that would be fantastic too.
Oh.
But Virus is, the Yave guy, basically. The Mexican technical guy, and I would love to watch that match. Do you want to talk about the shows first, or do you want to talk about our ballots for the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards?
Fred, I'll let you pick.
Oh, no, pressure. Let's talk about the shows first, because frankly, I don't have too much to say about them. I thought they were both pretty solid, with few real high-level segments on them. Nothing bad by any stretch, but, so Collision, let's talk about that first. I thought the highlight was definitely Trent versus Eddie Kingston. That was the best match on there. I went 4 stars on it. Just, two dudes beating the hell out of each other, and thought it was damn entertaining. We got a Sue sighting, but she was not involved. Hopefully that is acceptable to Joe Lanza. And but yeah, I mean, they just dropped bombs on each other, especially in the second segment of the match, and Kingston retained his title. I thought that was cool. Outside of that, I thought the only other match that I'd really recommend on any level is, as far as I go out of your way to see it thing, is FTR versus House of Black. Quick note, I think it's very funny that they announced representing the House of Black, like they did here. That popped me. Maybe change that slightly. I don't know. But this was a long match, and I'll be honest, I thought the go home portion was great, but I thought the first two were just a little too meandering. I just felt like they didn't really maximize their usage of that time. But I did like it. I liked the finish, which was Brody King came out to be a monster and cheat, and Daniel Garcia comes out for the save and chucks a chair into his head, and FTR wins by getting a sunset flip on Dax. And then afterwards, we get the House of Black killing the Faces and clearly setting up a trios match. I went 3 3/4 on this match. I thought it was good. I do wish that the first half of it was better, but it's still good. And those are kind of my 2 big notes in terms of positives on it. I don't have a lot of negatives. I thought the Darby and Sting tag was fine, but they weren't really given enough time to, or didn't do enough crazy stuff to really have a great Darby and Sting match. I think the Workhorsemen are very competent. I think they're very good, frankly. And I would like to see them be featured more. But, it's, what they've got. JD Drake is more up there than you would think. I think he's up in late 40s, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he's 43.
Okay, so not late 40s, but Cage Match says 39, which is shocking to me, but okay.
Oh,
yeah, I know, right?
You know what JD Drake looks like? And
What's...
you're not from the Midwest, so this may not hit you like it hits me. It's like when you go into a small town bar in South Dakota and you walk in and you see a dude wearing a plaid shirt tucked into his jeans, his guts hanging out, and there's like the top 2 or 3 buttons are undone, and he's drinking an old Milwaukee at the corner of the bar. Like, that is JD Drake.
Brother, you say that to me like I'm not from West Virginia.
Fair. Okay, fair.
JD Drake rules. I do want to do a cheap plug here. I watched Prestige Wrestling show from earlier this week with called Roseland 7 that took place on January 5th, and there was a pretty fun workhorseman match against Eddie Pearl and Ricky Gibson. And if I'm not mistaken, Ricky Gibson is the son of Robert Gibson, and I think that guy could really be something. He's a good guy. Anyways, good match and good show, like a very solid show. Anyways, I am distracting myself here. Oh, I guess he's not related to Robert Gibson. What am I talking about? Sorry.
Robert Gibson's kid's in the NWA.
No, that's Morton.
That's Morton's kid. Never mind.
Morton's kid. Yeah, I thought there was also a Gibson kid, but I guess it's just a coincidental name or non-coincidental. Anyways, I just went with flat 3 on the Darby and Sting match. It just wasn't given enough time to go anywhere. There was an Adam Copeland match, not Edge, and against Griff Garrison, which was like a solid TV match. There is also Kingdom did a fun, not quite squash of Commander and Brian Keith. I went 3 1/4 on. I went 3 on the Copeland match. There was a not particularly good Kiera Hogan Sky Blue match, and I will look, Tony Khan, if you or someone you pay listens to this show, I am genuinely making this offer. I will donate $20 to any reasonable charity you offer. I'll PayPal it to you personally, Tony Khan. I don't give a shit if you will just give me 1 week of Sky Blue off TV. Please. I just need to not have her working every single week. I'm not saying she stinks or anything. This isn't even like at that personal or like at that level. I just need Sky Blue to take a week off. Send her on that John Moxley fishing trip. Anything to just give me a break from Sky Blue continually Sky Bluing. But I thought this was a mess, and that's about all I really had to say about the show. There was a Ric Flair and Sting promo, actually, I do want to mention, that I thought was pretty fun. Just 2 old guys doing 80s shtick while Darby looked on kind of bemused. And that's about my Collision notes. You got anything else, Tyler? I realize I just like steamrolled you there, Dave Meltzer style, but
yeah, I kind of had Collision on the background because obviously, it's been a very busy time for me. No, I really don't have any issues. I thought giving the Workhorsemen more time should have been a thing. You kind of mentioned it. Like, look, you're not pushing them, but I was at that Rampage taping when they were in that 8-man tag with Brian Cage, and they could just go. Just let them work.
They're good. I don't know, like, if they're going to be, like high-level stars or anything, but they're really solid workers, and I think they can fit into a niche on TV. And what they could have done is they could have just cut Andrew Everett and Claudio, because I got to tell you, Andrew Everett crapped the bed. I thought he just had, and I've seen Andrew Everett before, and I think he's good. This isn't like a knock on him as a talent level. He just seemed to be really off this night and botched just about everything he does or did in taking this squash. And it was just, it was rough. That was a 1-star match, and like not the normal like this is a squash, so it kind of low on the scale. Like it was not good.
No.
And I think that's kind of all the notable stuff really from this show. It was kind of a low key show, which isn't necessarily bad. It was just kind of so it was fine. And then we got Dynamite. Man, Adam Page and Claudio, shockingly putting two of the best wrestlers in the world together and just letting them have 15 minutes on TV means that you have a great match. Who could have thought?
Shocking.
I know,
absolutely shocking.
Who could have foreseen, etc., etc. But this rolled, man. The Ricola bomb off the second rope into the Rana by that was an awesome spot. But I mean, these guys just look great, and it was a lot of fun. And this is the kind of stuff we should be doing more often in AEW, like two pretty high level guys and one just wins, and that's okay. I don't think this did anything to diminish Claudio at all.
No, and Claudio's at that point in his career where you can beat him, and it still means something, but it also doesn't matter as far as hurting him.
Yeah,
like this is perfect.
Yeah. Then we got a nice video tribute to Brody Lee, rest in peace. Put over that Preston Vance and Anna Jay were his proteges, and I guess they were on Rampage, so I, like somewhat caveating this, but man. Alex Reynolds, John Silver, and Evil Uno were not appearing in this film. Like, didn't even really get mentioned at all. And I think that just kind of shows where they are in the company right now.
I want to point this out because I found it on my YouTube. They put it up a couple days ago. The best moments from the Daily's Place era
cool.
Is on YouTube. It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes. The first clip is the debut of Brody Lee. God, how great would that have been in front of fans, man?
But yeah, they were going to debut him in his hometown too, up in Buffalo. I think that was one of the first Dynamites to get
Rochester.
Rochester. Thank you. Sorry. Apologies to the area. I was going to make a joke there, and I decided not to. But yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to go back and watch, pandemic era stuff yet. That's tough, but
it's just clips of the best moments from that era. So it's like, it was really weird watching it with no fans, but
it's so
it was
weird.
Also really cool.
Yeah, he rules. Brody, it's a damn shame that like WWE managed to misuse him for so long, and he finally got out, and then we got such a brief period with him doing his stuff, and it's a damn shame.
It is.
But all right, next up we had one of the two tribute matches, 8-man tag. Copeland, Dustin Rhodes, Orange Cassidy, and Preston Vance against Bishop Khan, Brian Cage, Toa Leona, and Lance Archer as the fourth man here. And I thought this was fun, not particularly notable, just, kind of a nice early 90s WCW style, like Saturday night, stars versus stars kind of match, like an all-star tag, and it was fun. It's kind of missing anything that really pushed it over the edge. It's great to see Lance Archer. Guy should be used far more often. And then Lance Archer argued with the Gates of Agony after the loss. Preston Vance, I think, hit the discus lariat on Bishop Khan for the pin, but they didn't show the move because AEW is very good at production. I thought this was a perfectly respectable match.
Yeah, I think perfectly respectable is a great way to put it. Push Lance Archer.
Yeah.
Please, let's get more Lance Archer on television.
And
I don't know what
I could mention him some,
I don't know if it's a Tony Khan thing. I don't know if it's a Lance Archer thing, but based on Archer's comments when he returned from that torn tricep, sounds like it's an AEW thing, not wanting to utilize him. Just put him in and let him do cool shit. Like, he can lose. You know what he should do? He should be Big Show circa 2004. He should be the final boss kind of wrestler.
Sure. You know, he'd fit in perfectly in Ring of Honor like that. I think would be a particularly great spot for him. If anyone knew what like Ring of Honor is really supposed to be right now, I think that'd be a great usage of him. But yeah, man, like Lance Archer still rules. He had the World Tag League was a nice little run for him and Alex Zane. I nearly said Sammy, but it's Alex Zane as the I forget what they call their tag team, but you know, Zane,
Monster Sauce.
Yeah, Monster Sauce, because Zane's obsessed with Taco Bell and Lance Archer is Lance Archer. That would be a perfectly cromulent Ring of Honor tag team, you know. So,
way to use cromulent on this podcast.
Hey, buddy. That's why I make the big bucks. We got another Bullet Club Gold and Acclaim promo talking about possibly lining up, and then we got fantastic segment, buddy. I love this. I love this so much. This is, I mean, it's early, but this could be a promo of the year contender or segment of the year contender, or whatever term you want to use here. World champion Samoa Joe, who came out, and Nicole looked up from her knitting at him and said, "Now that's a man." And that is categorically true.
Yes.
Truer words have literally never been spoken. He cuts a fantastic champion about how we're making changes here. You don't whine on the mic about your misfortune. No more social media ho-ass comments. You bring your record and your reputation. And if the championship committee deems you worthy, you get an opportunity. Your champion will be waiting. This part ruled, and then it just got better because Hangman Page came out. Actually, no, Swerve came out first. With the Gates of Agony. And Nana, and Swerve says basically he brings up how he told Hangman it wasn't personal, he was just after his spot and he took it, and he's saying the same thing to Joe, and he just wants that championship and he's going to take it, and then if you make it personal after I take it, I'm more than happy to do that. And then Hangman Page came out, and you know, he says 2023 held a law for him, but 2024 is going to be his. He gets in Joe's face, asks who he's smirking at, and he hasn't forgot what you had done to me. I'm going to take this from you for it. So Paige and Swerve both leave. Joe stands tall, and then we get the Hook signal. Hook comes out with his top-tier theme song, Action Bronson, and gets in Joe's face. A+ segment. I am hyped. I'm excited for next week's match. And this made Hook look cool as hell. It helped set up future programs. I don't think anyone really thought Hook was going to lose to Joe, frankly, but you know, it kind of does telegraph that he's not going to, or that he is going to lose to Joe, I should say. And but I don't care, man. This was cool. This was cool. You probably could have structured it slightly more, I guess, to maybe make it less obvious. Have something about how Hook was, you know, thought it was offensive that those two guys assumed he was, you know, the title was still going to be on Joe. But yeah, good stuff all in all. And then
hold on.
Go ahead.
AEW is back.
Oh,
this
AEW's...
is making the world title mean something. This is like, this was just great. And
this was I loved it. Go ahead.
Samoa Joe as the world champion is the coolest fucking thing of all time. I love this. Like, imagine if this guy's body was 10 years younger, how incredible this run could end up being. It's still going to be great.
Oh, no. But it's amazing to me that, like, his last world championship reign was, like, 15 years ago almost?
Unless
TNA.
You count NXT. I don't count NXT as a world title.
But, like, you know, ignoring that, like, this guy was born to be a world champion in wrestling. Like, he just looks natural as hell being the top guy in a company. And the fact, again, like, we all, you look back at Vince McMahon's career and you ignore all the being a creep stuff just for this discussion of like what he was able to do and everything. But I do think you can't really understate just how bad he was in like his last 5 to 10 years on top of creative in WWE, because like there were so many fumble chances and one of them was Samoa Joe. Like, I don't know how you look at what he was at that point in time when he was, you know, healthier and, you know, younger. And Like and you're just not like, oh, this guy's a world champion. We need to push the hell out of him. I don't get it, but hey. And then I'm going to give some credit here to an unlikely source. Tyler, I enjoyed a Tony Storm segment.
Okay. When she looks at Mariah May and is like, darling, I didn't see it. But how was it? Did you do an arm drag?
The arm drag.
Phenomenal. That was great.
When Mariah, I also enjoyed Mariah complaining about getting kicked in the face by Deonna Purrazzo and Tony Storm giving her a chocolate. And then Mariah May blowing Tony Storm's catchphrase. My biggest complaint with the whole Tony Storm gimmick to date, well, my two biggest. One, and this completely affects this one, is that it kind of ruins her matches. And she's a great worker. She doesn't, like, you are definitely bringing down her match quality because of the shtick. But two, the backstage segments, the interviews, the pre-tapes have largely, especially before this, just like lacked any kind of direction. Like, you had the idea for the gimmick, but then you didn't do anything with the segments. Like, there were no jokes. They're just like, well, she acts wacky, that'll be enough. And it's not. And I feel like it's really like been bad overall. But this was actually, I feel like, the best Tony Storm segment. So kudos to them for landing one. I am not a Timeless fan yet. If they do this regularly, like, I'm more open to it. I feel like it's probably better away from the world title picture on the women's division, but like, okay, kind of late to cross that one. But yeah, thumbs up to this segment. This was good. Yeah, Tony also saying she was sent a screener of the match, but didn't get to it. It was a good segment, man. I gotta give credit where credit's due, and this was a good comedy segment. Please keep this momentum going forward if you're going to do this gimmick. Next up, let's talk about kind of a mess. Ricky Starks and Samuel Guevara.
Did Ricky Starks get knocked loopy?
Oh, buddy, I saw some talk about that. I don't know. I honestly didn't think there was any spot that, like, where he looked like he was doing anything other than selling. And like, I think Starks is one of the best sellers in wrestling today. He's very realistic looking. So what I saw, I thought was just selling. But this match, it was a mess. They just weren't on the same page. Starks being shook up or concussed even would make sense given how this went. Now I do hope that if he was concussed, they would have caught that, but sometimes you don't know. And, but yeah, this was just sloppy. It had a very abrupt finish. And I don't know, like, Starks in the post match looked fine. I didn't think he was concussed in that. And then AEW did a smart but also funny thing where Jericho comes out, but I think to kind of try to undercut any attempts to boo him, they just play Judas the entire time. They go New Jack with him, and they do the big brawl across the arena thing. And look, it was an inspired decision. It was also obvious what they were trying to do. But, the brawl was fine. Nothing particularly notable. And I honestly think they're probably just going to try to blow off this feud. I would not be surprised if on Battle for the Belts, the Starks Bill team retain the belts. And Jericho just kind of goes on a little vacation. But I guess we'll see.
I'm not going to lie. I love that they have this match on Battle of the Belts. And if they were smart, Guevara and Jericho would end up winning the titles, because Battle of the Belts has just felt like a waste of time, because the titles never change hands. The matches always feel predetermined. This is your opportunity.
Well, I have bad news for you about the matches and being predetermined.
Shut up, Fred. I can suspend my disbelief for professional wrestling. I can't do it for Battle of the Belts. And I think AEW knows that, and they need to do something about it. And this is the perfect way to do it. Make shows matter. Like, WWE used to have world title changes and intercontinental title changes at house shows.
Yeah.
Because you knew it could matter. Well, make Battle of the Belts matter. Have the tag team titles change hands.
I am going through the results for Battle of the Belts now, and a title has never changed hands on a single Battle of the Belts, which kind of really undercuts the whole gimmick to not do it even once. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that I agree on doing the tag title belt change because of the current circumstances. Jericho is just in a really tough spot right now, and I'm saying this with the presumption that there aren't actual allegations out there against him. What I have seen has largely seemed to be like presumptive and not supported by anyone making any outward claims. It may just be that I am ignorant, which would not be new. But I'm doing my best here to be fair, and I do feel like, if there's not a concrete accusation against him, then we shouldn't treat it like there is one. If he is actually, if he actually has done this stuff before, then sexual assault type stuff, throw him in the river. Like, I just don't need to see him anymore.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. If any accusations end up being proven true, fuck them.
Yeah,
but right now, you can't go by internet rumors. Like we talked about college football earlier in the show. If you went off of what you read on message boards and claimed that as fact, oh buddy, that's essentially what this is. You can't. Like, you have a somebody who claims to be a real reporter that comping him to Harvey Weinstein without being able to provide any form of substantial evidence.
And then just saying, "Oh, I only meant that he was mean," or whatever it was they said. I forget now.
Yeah, well, then call him an asshole. Don't call him Harvey Weinstein. Like,
yeah,
this isn't hard.
It'd be like, I don't know. It'd be kind of like saying, "Oh, this guy reminds me of Jeffrey, Epstein." Yeah, and then be like, "Oh, I just meant that he was good with money." It's like, dude, no, that's not what people take that to mean. But yeah, I mean, like, yes, if Jericho is innocent in all this, this is just a really, I don't know what to do with him, as a booker, because if he's going to keep getting these responses, this isn't like heel heat, so turning him heel isn't a solution. And if the go away heat continues, then it really undercuts him being a babyface. So I don't know. I mean, maybe you send him away for a few months, hope it blows over. I just genuinely don't know. But again, if he actually did these things, then let him fuck off to Tampa.
Yep, exactly.
I thought there was, anyways, moving on, women's match, 8 women tag, Anna Jay, Chris Statlander, Thunder Rosa, and Willow Nightingale against Julia Hart, Ruby Soho, Sarai, and Sky Blue, the legally required Sky Blue appearance.
I got one thing to say about this match.
Yeah.
God, Julia Hart looks like a star.
Oh,
man.
She's totally a star, yeah.
Oh, but she had a clothesline to the back of Stat's head, and it just looked like there was no oomph put into it. She's young, and I think she needs to work on that strength a little bit because it looked bad. It looked like you were wrestling with like a 7-year-old kid, and the 7-year-old delivered it, and it was, you like almost no-sold it at first because there was like no oomph.
Yeah,
she needs to get that, but you know what? She got the difficult part down. She got over.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I just want the rest of the package to come, and it will. But that was
she got to work on the moonsault too. She's still having some issues on occasion with that, where it looks terrible. And but I got to be honest, I thought this match was was pretty good. I went 3 1/4 on it. So like short of recommending it or anything, but like if you have it on, you're not going to hate it. I didn't think. I thought the work in it was overall pretty solid.
Yeah. The one thing and you know what? Like, this is a weird question.
Okay.
Anna Jay's gear looked nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But on her hip, she has those little chains.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that hurt like hell if you landed on those things?
Probably. Yeah, probably. I think there's a specific. I think that's a reason she's not doing any kind of hip attacks type moves.
Oh, some breaking news.
Oh,
Kalen DeBoer and Alabama are negotiating about becoming head coach.
Interesting. I saw that he canceled his show this morning, but then said that it said that was because he was meeting with the athletic director. Now, what does that mean? Hard to say, but yeah.
Man, that's brutal for Washington. Really,
because he's done a great job there. I was telling Nicole the other day that they should probably hire him, so rather than the Oregon guy. So I'll take my victory lap there. Okay, back to Dynamite. Yuta pre-tape that I actually thought was solid. Said he's no one's young boy and challenges Eddie Kingston. I still haven't watched his pre-show promo from World's End, I think it was, which was a disaster apparently. But I think he's developing as a promo. He's not a great one yet, but I think he's going to end up pretty good. Brian Keith versus Roderick Strong. This was a pretty enjoyable short match. Quasi squash. My big note on it is I don't know that I would have put Brian Keith in this spot because I think that he did not look competitive enough for a new guy you're bringing in that's ostensibly going to be something, it feels like. But both he and Roddy did good work here. It was just too short to really be notable. And then there was an Adam Cole promo about how everyone's going to win belts that's in this group. So Yahoo. Deonna Prazzo promo, which was mid. Red Velvet came in, hyped their collision match. All right, whatever. And then we got the tag, which we talked about a little bit already. Darby Allin and Sting against Hobbs and Takeshita. And good stuff, I thought, in general. I went 3.5 on it. So, and then we got the Young Bucks stare down. So I think that's all the notes I have on the show. You got anything you want to add?
Dynamite feels back, and it's just so refreshing that it feels like the show we fell in love with again.
Yeah. This was I thought a really great, not a great show, I should say, but in terms of the vibes were there. And that's great. AEW feels like it is, a good promotion. It's not no bullshit right now or minimal bullshit. The bullshit there is largely confined to Timeless Tony right now. We aren't doing these dumb pre-tapes that they had last year. We aren't doing, flailing 4-corner feuds or anything with the world title. So,
and you know what? Even the Tony stuff has really mellowed out a little bit.
Yeah. I like I said, good segment this week for Timeless Tony. So even the act I don't like went well. So all right. Last thing we're going to do on the show this week is let's do our Wrestling Observer newsletter awards.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited for this, but I'm also not, because there are some where I'm just drawing huge blanks.
Yeah, there's some spots here. It hasn't been a great year, I don't think, in other spots where it was. So it'll be kind of interesting to talk about that. So we just followed Dave's rules for voting. So the category A awards, we named the top 3. We did that, and then for the category B, we only named 1. You named the 1. I skipped all the MMA awards because I don't care. I just am not interested in MMA, and we will start with the MVP, the Lou Thesz Ric Flair Award, which is basically a combination of box office impact and match quality. People always seem to forget the match quality aspect, but who was your third place guy here?
I gave it to Roman. It's just really hard to keep the top guy in WWE off of this list completely. Business is great for WWE right now. They're drawing huge houses. Roman is a good part of that. And but the match quality is just not up to that level. Yeah. So that's why I have him at 3. It's the box office impact right now is carrying him for this award.
My take is you got to show up to work to get an award for your work.
That is also fair. But
so I
it's
just didn't
third
really
place.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not knocking it much. I just didn't really seriously consider Roman for this because he's barely around. To me, if you're going to name one WWE guy, I guess it would be Cody Rhodes. But frankly, they kind of, it wasn't really clear to me as to who the number 2 guy would be or the top full timer in WWE would be this year. And I don't like WWE very much right now, so I didn't seriously consider it. My number 3 was Kento Miyahara. As the top guy in all Japan and having one of the best in-ring years this year. I think, given his importance to that promotion that had a great year, he's a good pick. So I went with him number 3.
That's fair. My number 2, Jon Moxley.
Okay, interesting.
Consistently working top of the cards in multiple promotions. He's a big draw when he goes out to the indies. And then he's on the top of the card in multiple companies that have drawn big houses. He was a big part of the whatchamacallit, All In.
Yeah.
That card. And plus his match quality is just excellent across the board. Very rarely do you have a stinker from Jon Moxley. And yeah. That's why I went that direction.
He works a lot too.
Yes, he does.
All right, our next one, and first, my second place guy, I should say, is Mystico. Samuel L had a fantastic year, and Mystico has been their top guy. It's very obvious that he's a very overperformer. He's very good in ring as well, and I think it's just a pretty clear pick that. He should finish highly in this award.
Good take. Number 1, I'm pretty sure is your number 1, Will Ospreay.
Will Ospreay.
Look, nobody's having a better in-ring year than Will Ospreay. You could make a top 10 match of the year list with only Will Ospreay matches. And top of the card, he helped sell 5,000 tickets at the Copper Box. He was one of the biggest draws of the All-In card. Wrestle Kingdom. It's Will Ospreay.
Yeah, I agree. I think he had such a great year in ring that he definitely carried that aspect of it. And as far as box office impact, I think it'd be foolish to say he doesn't have any. He's a good draw in the UK specifically. I think he helped out with All In, and also what he did in Rev Pro was pretty impressive. And he also is a big star in New Japan. So I think between those, he's definitely does more than his fair share on the box office impact aspect. Most outstanding, which is just best in-ring wrestler. Who was your third place guy?
I'm just going to run through 3 to 1 so we can
Sure, yeah.
3 is Kazuchika Okada. Okada is just arguably the greatest wrestler of all time. And he had a very good in-ring year, but it didn't necessarily peak as high as these other 2 guys. Number 2, Bryan Danielson. People forget that Iron Man match against MJF was in 2023. It feels like so long ago. Number 1 is Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay also in contention for the best wrestler of all time, and the dude is 31 years old.
Yeah,
insane, right, Odie? Do you think Will Ospreay is great? Yeah, good boy.
Can't believe you're stealing Nick Nemeth's gimmick from, Ryan Nemeth's gimmick from BTE. My top 2 are the same as you. I went Ospreay and Danielson, and then my number 3 was Kento Miyahara. I just think he had a fantastic year and is deserving. Tag team of the year, who you got?
Okay, so I had to really think about this because tag team wrestling kind of stunk this year as a whole.
It was a weak year.
3, Sting and Darby Allin.
Okay.
It seems kind of absurd, but every time they're in the ring, it's fun, high energy, impressive. The star presence, it's a bad year for tag team wrestling. So I feel like having a team like that is there. 2, another interesting one because they were not a team for the entire year. I gave it to the War Dogs, Drilla Maloney and Clark Connors. That team's fun as hell, and they put on pretty good matches. Look, I had a really hard time with this one.
Hey, that's fine.
Number 1, Kento Miyahara, Yumi Aoyagi. it's fucking Kento, man. If Kento was in New Japan, I think the world would know how great this guy is.
Oh boy, we'd be talking about him a whole different way. He's going to have a really interesting and unfortunate Hall of Fame case one of these days because he's just not going to get the respect I think he deserves. I also want Kento Miyahara and Yuma Aoyagi as my tag team of the year. Their tag team stuff was such a big part of what they did. And also, if you include like them going face to face, they had a couple great matches this year. And as much as I put over Miyahara, like Yuma Aoyagi was like a top 10 or 15 wrestler in the year this year. I thought he was fantastic as well and really stepped up and improved. And I thought that was a pretty clear pick. 2 and 3 was hard. I went with Young Bucks number 2. I think people kind of forget just how good of a year they had. Then again, I also think I like the Young Bucks more than a good number of people. So, hey, what are you going to do? And I went FTR third. This was not a classic FTR year, but I still think they had a solid year, and it really was highlighted by the tag match against Bullet Club Gold. But they still had quite a few good matches, and I think they earned it. I thought about Catch 22 or 22, I should say, for that third spot. And honestly, if they hadn't have just kind of petered out halfway through the year and stopped doing anything together, I might have went with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for even the second spot. But they just kind of stopped being a thing. So, half a good year isn't enough this year, even though it was a down year. Interviews. Who did you think was best on interviews, Tyler?
3 Will Ospreay, 2 John Moxley, 1 Eddie Kingston. If you want to take any of those 3 and maneuver them, I wouldn't be upset. I also considered Zack Sabre Jr. because his ability on the mic is absolutely tremendous. But I really think it's those 3 guys.
Really? I think you forgot someone. My top pick was Christian Cage.
Christian Cage.
It's a tough group this year, I think.
I'm okay leaving Cage off.
Yeah.
Because the other 3 guys are so good. But that's a very good pick.
I went Cage number 1. Number 2 was Eddie Kingston. And then number 3, I went Samoa Joe. I think he's just... His promos give him so much credibility, and that's like really unique these days. And I think he's awesome. Promotion of the year. Who you got?
Number 3, All Japan. All
Okay.
Japan's been great. Number 2, even though we criticized a good amount of it, there was still so much good. AEW.
I agree.
There was still a ton of really good from AEW, despite our qualms with a lot of the brochacho stuff. Number 1, CMLL. CMLL had a phenomenal year.
They did.
In-ring, cohesive storytelling, really good high-end matches, drama.
Weekly good stuff. And it really got revitalized this year, and it rules. I had almost the exact same list. I went CMLL first, and then All Japan, and then AEW. I thought there was too much good stuff in AEW to not like it. So yeah. Best weekly TV show.
3, I went Impact.
Okay.
I thought there was a good amount of good stuff on Impact as far as what was going on in the whatchamacallit, like just a regular TV show. Like Josh Alexander versus Will Ospreay was on the regular TV show. They had a bunch of really good matches like that and consistent, cohesive storytelling. 2 Dynamite and 1 Collision. Collision is it's a wrestling show and it's great.
Yeah. I went Dynamite, then Collision, then New Japan on Access. New Japan on Access is kind of my standard, this is like, you must be this tall to enter the voting kind of.
You know why I didn't go New Japan on Access? Because it's already stuff that's already aired live, sometimes over a month ago.
Yeah.
And even though it draws ratings and it helps expose New Japan to the U.S. audience, I'm sorry. I can't vote for it for being one of the best weekly TV shows because it's not really a weekly TV show, even though it's aired weekly.
It is a TV show.
Yeah, it's basically Sports Center for wrestling. That's kind of how I view it. I don't count it.
I don't think Impact was quite good enough to earn that spot, and I don't like WWE. It's just not my style. And once you get beyond that, it's the pickings are rough. I'm not voting for NWA or like Ohio Valley Wrestling. So, and then match of the year.
Number 3, I gave all these matches 5 stars. I have 8 or 9 5-star matches this year, so this was a difficult one. Number 3, from the G1 semifinals, Tetsuya Naito versus Will Ospreay.
Good match. Great match.
Where Ospreay literally had to carry Naito to the end.
You can do it.
And you know what? God, it was just tremendous. And it didn't take anything away from it for me. I thought it made it better because Naito's just this loopy fuck. And Ospreay's giving himself Destinos. I'm sorry. Like, the ability to continue on with that match, knowing what's going on, and being able to just basically do everything for Naito and make him look like a star. I mean, Naito is a star. He doesn't need somebody to make him look like one, but he was loopy. Yeah. And it worked. I thought that was just brilliant pro wrestling. Number 2, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay from the Tokyo Dome. 1-4 Wrestle Kingdom 17. Oh my gosh. Omega just beat the living piss out of Ospreay. Ospreay tried to come back, and it was just, look, it was everything you thought this match could be and more. And then they topped it with my number 1 match of the year at Forbidden Door, Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega 2. I don't care about the Don Callis stuff like some other people do. I think this match is the greatest match of all time, and just phenomenal. They did the exact inverse of their first match. Ospreay came out like a ball of fire and started beating the living piss out of Omega. And then the Tiger Driver 93 with a one. No, it wasn't Tiger Driver 93. It was the One Winged Angel to a 1 count. Was perfectly timed, perfectly set up. And only Omega could get away with doing a 1 count kick out on his own finishing move. Because only one other competitor has ever fully kicked out of the One Winged Angel in the middle of the ring. And that was Kota Ibushi. I believe Peter Pan 2012.
Yeah.
Like, the greatest match of all time. And just so good.
My top 3. Number 3 was Kenny Omega against Hijo Vikingo. Look, people will say this was just a moves match, and I'm like, yes, and it ruled. I love this match so much. I know it was just on a random Dynamite, and look, I know I'm like out on an island on it probably, but I just adored this match. This is, it's just guys doing cool shit and doing it really well, and it was extremely cool. Oh well, deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 was the Wrestle Kingdom, Omega and Ospreay. Loved the match. It was fantastic. And my number 1 match was Texas Death, Hangman versus Swerve. Frankly, the only commentary on this match that would truly do it justice is the GIF of the fan of the UFC fight show with Just Bleed painted on his chest. That's it, man. Like, that match was just fantastic, just amazingly visceral, and I loved it so much.
I really considered that Texas Death match as number 3, but every time I kept thinking about number 3, I just kept going back to Naito and Ospreay and how Ospreay literally
that's fair.
The match on his back to save it, and he didn't just save it; it made it better. And but that Texas Death match, watching it live and the artwork getting stapled in his first face, and he's just smiling up a storm. Oh my god,
what a psychotic match! All right, now category B, where you just choose one guy. I'm going to skip the book and documentary awards because I don't have anything for those. Do you?
Yes, the documentary awards. Joe Lanza's audio documentary on the life of Eddie Gilbert.
I should listen to that. I still have
4 hours long. Look, if people and Joe are saying it's the best thing he's ever done, I have not had a chance to listen to it, but I'm giving it the vote.
Okay, well, that's fair.
It's Joe Lanza talking about somebody with ECW, and when Joe gets passionate about something, there's very little that's better on this planet. So I'm giving that a vote.
That's fair. All right, I have both blank right now. I may go and add a vote for that. I just didn't read any wrestling books this year, so. US and Canada MVP. Who do you have?
Jon Moxley.
Bryan Danielson. I don't think there's a wrong pick here. And like Cody Rhodes is a good pick too if you're going
I don't know. Danielson he kept getting hurt. Like how
And then he'd come back and have 18 great matches and then get hurt again. I don't care.
The most valuable thing about that, like why I couldn't pick Danielson, the most valuable asset is being there. And that was just too much for me.
I don't think he missed that much time. I mean, he was working with the cast on his arm and everything. He also worked with
like 2.5, 3 months.
Yeah. Fuck it. I also think this was a really weird year for this award, personally. So
yes.
Japan MVP.
I debated on this one.
Yeah.
I debated between multiple guys. I think you're going to pick Kato Miyahara, and I completely understand. I'm giving it to Will Ospreay.
That's fair.
I
can't knock it. I think Ospreay's a fair pick there. I think Naito would be a reasonable pick. I think that's kind of like the three guys that I would personally consider. Maybe someone from Stardom, but I feel like Stardom had a really weak year, personally.
They were drawing like 100 to Korakuen at one point.
Yeah, there was a lot of injuries, and like I think just compared to New Japan and All Japan this year, I just don't think it.
It feels like Stardom carried itself more than any wrestler.
Yeah, I think it just kind of existed. It carried itself forth. Mexico, I think, is a really obvious pick. And it's Mystico.
Who'd you go with? Mystico? I went a different route. I went with Soberano Jr.
Okay, that's a good pick. I love Soberano. So
I think Soberano is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it resonates in my head. Ricardo Gallegos, who is the co-host of Los Lucha Jobbers.
Yes.
I think I said that the way they pronounce it on this own podcast network. He said that it's hard to really credit Mystico with some of these houses because it's tourists and tourists.
Sure.
It's like you go to London, you go to Wembley, you go to Mexico, you go to a lucha show.
Yeah.
And that's why it's really difficult for me to really quantify the fact that, Mystico deserves a lot of credit for this. And I get it, but those words ring in my head every time there's conversations about Mexico. And
I just don't think there's another alternate like guy that has a strong drawing record, and I think that Mystico has shown some drawing ability up and beyond the normal CML is doing well. So this is my take. I don't know. I thought about Soberano. I thought about Teton.
Teton rules.
Teton was my number 12 wrestler this year. I will tell you who it shouldn't be, and this is me talking directly to people that may not have sent your ballots in, and I'm begging you. Literally, this is me. I please do not vote for El Hijo del Vikingo here. Because look, I know he's great. I love him. I just had him as the number 3 match of the year. If I went full top 10 with my my most outstanding, he was my number 8 guy on the year. I think he rules. He is the highest rated guy from Mexico, but so much of that work was not in Mexico, and AAA is just a shit show. And he didn't really draw anything, I think, up amazingly down there. And his best work was on the US. So it's got to be a CMLL guy this year. It has to. And I feel like Mystico's the standard bearer. So, it's kind of like saying, well, Roman Reigns has to be the US MVP award voter. Only Mystico's there all the time and is actually a really interesting worker. So not like that at all. European MVP.
Will Ospreay.
I don't know. I guess Michael Oku would be another candidate, but like it feels like Rev Pro is just so lifted up by Ospreay that it has to be him, and I feel like he played a key role in Wembley. So non-heavyweight MVP.
Going with Soberano Jr. again.
All right, I went Teton. Soberano is a perfectly acceptable pick. So woman wrestler of the year. This is a rough one too, I thought.
I'll be honest, I don't watch enough women's wrestling to truly have an opinion.
Okay.
Like as far as like I really don't watch Joshi. I will watch stuff that gets highly, highly recommended. Like I still have that Tokyo Joshi Pro 10 woman tag that I need to watch before I
still need to watch that
of the
too.
year.
Yeah.
Because look, like I'm not the biggest Joshi guy, but if the people I trust say that this is a phenomenal match and you need to watch it, I'm gonna take my time because like the Shuri and Tommy Hayashishita match from I think last year or 2 years ago.
Oh, that was awesome. That
made my top 10 match of the year, and I wouldn't have watched it unless people were like, "You need to go seek this out."
Yeah.
But I ended up picking Julia.
Julia's a good pick. I didn't go with her for two reasons. One, she missed some time due to injury, and if I recall correctly, and two, Stardom just was really off this year. And I frankly think Tokyo Joshi Pro was a better promotion between the two. So I went with Mizuki. I thought she had a fantastic year for TJPW, and that's my pick. Feud of the year. Weird year for this, I thought.
Kento Miyahara versus Katsuhiko Nakajima.
Oh, that's a good one. I nearly went with that. I went Hangman Swerve. I didn't love like some of the early stuff with it, but by the time they did their match, like I was ready to walk through fire. You know, like that stuff ruled. So
I almost went with MJF versus himself in Good Wrestling, but man, the Miyahara and Nakajima stuff, I don't know the full backstory of why they hate each other.
They trained together, I think, and it's a lot of it from that. But I'm not as up on it as like Gerard would be or Paul Bosch.
Emerald Flow Show, covering Pro Wrestling Noah and All Japan Pro Wrestling. You want to check that out. Look, I'll have to ask them about it because I don't know the full backstory, but just in the ring, you can tell how like special that intensity is.
Yeah, you get those vibes off it, and it's really hard to get those vibes. Let's see. Most improved.
Master Wato.
That's a reasonable pick. I did not go with him because he disappeared in the second half of the year, and like I don't know if you're most improved. You should.
But juniors disappear in the second half of the year in New Japan. That's not really his fault.
True.
Like we're not talking wrestler of the year. We're talking like most improved, and I think it's Master Wato.
I went El Soprano Jr. I think he's been pretty good for a while, but I feel like he really stepped up this year and is a capital D dude now. So
another wrestler that I really considered here, Julia Hart.
Yeah, I'd like to see her be good in ring before I really
I didn't think the in ring was quite good enough, but everything else, man, it's working.
Let me see. Just trying to scroll through my list and see if I have. Yoda Tsuji is a weird one because voting for him to me would be like the thing that always happens in the NBA with the most improved player award, which is where you're a rookie and then in your second year you get more playing time and put up numbers, but like you're just kind of the same guy. Like maybe Tsuji's been this good for a while, but that's kind of.
I'm not going to give it to a guy who just comes back from excursion.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like it's I don't know that that's really fair. I thought Miyu Watanabe in Tokyo Joshi Pro is a lot better. I thought she improved noticeably, and I think she's really good. And beyond that, I don't know. It was kind of a weak year in this award, I thought. Next award, as I fail to use my keyboard correctly, most charismatic.
Mystico. Even though I talked about him not being the Mexico MVP because of like the houses and stuff, I think it's arguably more impressive, Fred, that you get all these foreigners coming in and Mystico just gets these loud crowd reactions consistently from people that maybe have never seen him wrestle before, and he just has that aura. I think that's special.
He was my number 2 guy. I think my number 1 was Kento Miyahara. I mean, I think they're very comparable actually in this way. You get Miyahara. He traveled around some this year, working in Noah and New Japan, and whenever he showed up, like you could feel like he was something special.
He didn't work in New Japan.
It was.
You're talking the All Together shows,
yeah,
right?
the All Together show, which I guess technically is not New Japan, but yeah. But yeah, he's just so charismatic and awesome. Best technical.
Danielson.
Best brawler.
Moxley.
Best high flyer.
Vikingo.
Yeah, I think those are pretty clear cut ones, and frankly, a little boring. Next up, most overrated, which is Dave Meltzer speak for Push Too Hard.
Sonata.
That's a good one. I went Tyrus just because, like, it's Tyrus. He should not have been wrestling, let alone the NWA World Champion for whatever little that means. Most underrated, which is a Daveism for push too little.
Kenny Omega.
Spicy. I don't hate it.
When you talk about it being the Daveism, let's use Kenny Omega, man. Like, it felt like he's not doing much. And I don't know how much of that is just him trying to heal from injuries and keep his body in good shape so he can do like big matches. But man, it just felt like he could have been used significantly more and better in AEW over the course of the past year. Obviously, the end ended with that diverticulitis, which is absolutely brutal. But yeah, Omega.
I went Kaito Kiyomiya because, I mean, he was kind of pushed hard in Noah, but really just as like a mini-me for Muto. And then when he got over to New Japan, he was treated as just kind of a guy. And then like the special, like the good buddy of a young boy and a young lion. And
I really didn't mind how he was used in the G1. I thought he was fine.
It wasn't awful, but that was the best push he got all year. And like, that sucks. This is a guy that should be like the number one guy in a Japanese company right now. And, or at least in New Japan treated as like a top level guy. And instead he's just kind of been, mid-card McGee. Rookie of the year. Now there's a specific list here of people that are eligible for it. And I strongly encourage anyone that's actually voting to read that list because hypothetically it'd be very embarrassing if you vote for someone that's not eligible.
I voted for Yuma Anzai.
I voted for Yuma Anzai too. He barely missed my top 100 wrestlers of the year list. He was 101. But he's just a natural. I think the next top two guys are from Dragon Gate, but so it's Kaito Nagano, who is very good from Dragon Gate, and then there's a third guy, and I am blanking on his name. I'm trying to like rapidly look through the Daiki Yanaguchi also had a very good year. And I think those two guys deserve it. Action Andretti would be my number 4. I think he's turned into a nice high flyer. And I liked his little run with Top Flight at the end of the year. So, like, he's a legit roster guy. And I think that's pretty good for, like, basically your first year as a major guy.
I agree.
Best non-wrestler.
I didn't have one. I couldn't think of a good one. I'll be honest. Oh, Prince Nana. Yep.
Look, I don't know that like he's really a great promo, like what you typically think of with this award, I guess. But I feel like he's really lifted the Swerve Strickland act, even though it's kind of incongruous with Swerve Strickland evil mastermind sometimes. But I think it's really helped, and I don't know how I feel like you have to pick him. I feel like he's just the strongest guy, and is better than like I guess Paul Heyman default votes.
Fair.
Best TV announcer.
I don't know, Tony Schiavone.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's just more of a personal taste thing for me. I love how he accents everything that AEW does with their announcing. And you can just feel the enjoyment Tony Schiavone has by being in the booth. And I just really appreciate that. I
like Schiavone. I feel like he kind of undercut his case some with being the main play-by-play guy, on Collision. Because he doesn't know what moves are. And like he never has been good at that.
I don't care that he doesn't know what moves are.
It's very silly when he's calling like the wrong move actively. Like that bothers me more than maybe it should, but it doesn't help, I guess. I went to the Bone Zone. I went Ian Riccoboni.
Good choice.
He's really good, and Caprice Coleman plays off him perfectly. I do like Joe Lanza saying that this should be a best commentary booth award instead.
I agree.
And I feel like that's I never considered it before, but I feel like it's a pretty good argument.
So I have a hot take about this award.
Yeah.
I think Walker Stewart might own this award in 3 to 4 years.
He could be a guy. I think he's very good at it. He's adjusting to going to New Japan. It's a big step off.
A lot of effort and a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
And
he's good.
He's only 22?
Oh, he's a baby. He's disgustingly young.
He's going to figure this out and get more reps and get better and better and better. And I think that he could end up being that guy.
He's already quite good. So he's a serious candidate, I think. Excalibur, I like him a lot. I think he's a good candidate. And also, like Chris Charlton, though sometimes he, does a little too much, and sometimes you could argue he undercuts his partners, but I still think he's a quite good announcer. Worst TV announcer?
Corey Graves.
That's a pretty good one. I went Booker T. I feel like
fair.
He is atrocious at announcing, just awful. Best major show.
I went Forbidden Door.
That's fair. I had like 3 or 4 to choose from AEW, and I went with All Out. Kind of just drew one from a hat. I feel like there's 3 or 4 you could have done there. Forbidden Door, one of them, and worst major show.
I went with Survivor Series.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I struggle thinking of really bad major shows.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me. I went I went with one I did not watch, but when it potentially like kills your company's ability to have TV, it's worth it. NWA Samhain, or however you're supposed to say that.
Samhain.
Steven Sondheim. Yeah, I just think like that's deserving, and NWA is just kind of a turd of a promotion. Best wrestling maneuver, which is always kind of a weird one to me, I think, but
Tiger Driver 93.
Okay. By Osprey, I assume.
Yep. Not only was it incredibly impactful on my best show of the year and my best match ever, it brought the worst reactions out of the worst people. And like,
now that's safety policing right there.
I really think it was a defining move of 2023, which is kind of how I view the award.
That's
not
fair.
necessarily like
good point.
Or like a revolutionary move, a new move.
Yeah.
Like I think this is when we look back on this year, one of the moves we're going to talk about is Tiger Driver 93. And I don't really have that vibe from any other move on the from this past year.
Yeah. My pick was Vikingo's second rope step up 630.
See, to me, that's not special per se, because he's been doing that for a couple years.
Yeah, but
it absolutely rules.
That was my. I just voted as dumb as possible. I just went cool move, thank you.
Yeah, but it doesn't scream defining. It doesn't scream anything of that nature, and that's why I couldn't pick it.
That's a fair vote. I think you had a much smarter way of voting than I did. I was just like, it's cool. Lizard brain, go. Flip more.
Look, me smarter than you. That's just the motif of the show.
Yeah, it's true. Most disgusting promotional tactic.
You know what? I really struggled to think of one specific thing. I just put WWE.
I put Vince McMahon returning to WWE as CEO.
Was that in this calendar year? It
was.
Feels like
it was
so long
January.
ago.
I know it was a year ago, but yes, it was January 2023.
Jesus Christ!
Where all of a sudden you should leave as CEO got voted back in. What a gross dude, allegedly. Worst TV show?
NXT.
Oh,
I'm not even going NXT level up, just NXT.
NXT level up's probably better because I think it's just matches from the little bit I've seen. I voted NWA Power. That's a default vote. If AAA had a TV show, I probably would have voted for it, but they like kind of don't. I don't know. It's such a weird situation with them. Worst match of the year?
Tyrus EC3.
I only voted for stuff I actually watched in this one category, as compared with like the last one. I did not go out of my way. I did not do bad match porn this year. I didn't like go around trying to watch the worst matches. So I just went with what I actually watched that I thought was the worst match, which is Jeff Hardy and Jeff Jarrett in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre aimless brawl.
See, it was
that so much.
It was fine. Like
I hated it.
You hate fun.
I don't hate fun because that wasn't fun. That was shit. despise that match. I went -1 star on it. And then we got just a few more. Worst feud of the year. I feel this is easy.
Share, because I'm drawing a blank.
MJF the Devil.
I guess.
I mean, it killed. It really like hurt AEW pretty seriously for half a year. So I don't know what else it would be.
Yeah.
Worst promotion.
WWE.
AAA.
Like here's my thing with WWE. There may be some good, but that roster and how bad the product is egregious. And they should win this award every single year until they fix it.
I mean, I think you could argue that they have fixed it. It's just not for us. It's very successful with their fans. I don't know.
That doesn't make it good.
Hey,
Successful does not mean it's good.
McDonald's. I'm not saying that.
McDonald's is not good food.
Look at my previous
but
votes.
They have thousands of restaurants.
Disrespect to the McNuggets.
I love McNuggets,
but Triple,
but they're not. They're objectively not great.
Yeah, look, but in the way they are great if you think about it. Yeah, I think AAA had the ability to do good stuff, and instead they did bad stuff, and I think that's why they deserve it, because it just really stunk. Best booker,
whoever's booking All Japan.
I went with Panico, who was booking CMLL, but I think it's Shuji Ishikawa, but I'm not sure for All Japan. But I think that's a perfectly reasonable pick. In an ideal world, like they would probably split the award, but I worry that neither will win. So then we'll just get like Triple H.
No, fuck that.
Yeah. Promoter of the year. I feel like more and more this is just a really weird award. Like it feels
Tony
almost
Khan?
like
He had the biggest paid wrestling attendance in history. Like I don't care the rest of the year. Like you sell nearly 82,000 tickets to one wrestling show. That's it.
I went.
WWE can't even sell that many tickets for WrestleMania, and I don't want to hear the excuse. Oh, it's 2 days. There are 2 shows under the same umbrella, but it's not one show.
I went. I just put in CMLL, so I'm not sure if that should be Paco Alonso. Although he is, I'm sorry, I should say Salvador Luderoth III. I was reading the wrong line in my notes, or Whomst. But yeah, I think that CMLL deserves it. Again, going with whoever All Japan's equivalent would be a reasonable pick. I feel like those are the top 2 guys. Best gimmick.
I'm gonna need more time to think.
Okay.
On best gimmick.
I voted Christian Cage.
Yep, that's it. There you go.
Yeah.
I've struggled with some of these. Just my brain, just trying to process everything.
It's a weird thing to consider. I think sometimes is best gimmick, because it's kind of hard to separate that out from the performer. But I feel like this idea worked really well. Worst gimmick, and this is our last one.
Chachos.
I went the Devil. I feel like that's basically the same thing, essentially. Yeah, I think that was easily the worst part of wrestling that I enjoyed in 2020. 3 years are hard. That's it. That's all the awards. Yeah. Any other thoughts on those?
No. I'm excited to see what happens when they come out. That should be really interesting to kind of see what the aggregate has to say about these. Yeah. Because you get people from a bunch of different bubbles voting on them. And I think that's what makes it fun. Also recommend, yesterday, we're recording this on Friday. On Thursday, Match of the Year ballots started being sent out by Voices of Wrestling. And if you have an interest in a Match of the Year ballot, you can get one if you are a member of the wrestling media. That means you just have to write or talk about professional wrestling. If you go to voicesofwrestling.com, there is a spot with Match of the Year where you can apply for a ballot. And if you meet those qualifications, then you'll be sent one. They are due in 2 weeks. I believe it's like the 21st or something like that. And it's a collection of wrestling media who has watched. Obviously, they watch the sport for at least some form of media. And it's a very interesting collection because you get people who are very Josie-centric. You get people who are lucha-centric. in Europe. You get people who only watch AEW and WWE. It's a lot of different voices coming together, and you see what matches really made a difference and made an impact on them to make the list. And it's, in my opinion, the best match of the year poll because it's people who take this very seriously. Yeah. And very cool. If you want a ballot and you feel like you meet those criteria, go submit a request for one, and then the powers that be will decide if you are worthy, which if you fit one of those criteria, you will be. I'm excited to share our match of the year list. I'm compiling mine right now. Obviously, everybody knows my top 3 at this point, but there's a lot of really good wrestling from this past year.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic, a pretty damn good year. I won't go fantastic because there's some negative, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And with that is our show. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun things. And if you are listening on the Voice of Wrestling feed, thank you very much. Please go listen to us on our own feed, the good, the bad, and the Hungee. You leave a 5-star review. We will be very grateful. And with that, I am Tyler. He's Fred.
I'm Fred.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Do you like wrestling trivia? Then check out the 5-star match game, the Pro Wrestling Quiz Show. I'm Joe Gagney, and every episode, I grill 3 contestants with 5 rounds of power-packed wrestling trivia. We have over 30 evergreen episodes in the archives covering WWE, AEW, Japan, Mexico, and much, 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 much more. Play along at home and check it out today.